Taiwan still literally claims all of mainland China in its constitution. Officially, Taiwan is the Republic of China. Officially, Taiwan, legally, constitutionally, still considers itself China, the legitimate government of China. So, like, the way that these people frame this as, like, China just, like, randomly attacking a poor, defenseless democratic state, rather than a territorial dispute, which is what it has between two governments that both claim each other's territory, is also ludicrous. Like, we're not fucking talking about Russia invading the Crimea here. We're not talking about Russia invading Ukraine. It's not the same thing. Now, for one, I don't believe in these sorts of dumb, liberal, international law sorts of territorial claims. But regardless, China's claim on Taiwan is as valid as pretty much any other claim in the entire world today, possibly even more so. Because what happened is the Chinese Communist Party won a civil war, and the losing side of that civil war then took refuge in Taiwan and installed themselves as basically like a competing sort of government. Like, you can say, well, the Taiwanese population has changed in the last 10, 20 years or so, and they want to be independent now. Doesn't fucking matter. That doesn't invalidate the claim, because what the claim stems from that initial event. Otherwise, basically any country could like send settlers to a territory, settle there, and then 50 years later say, well, this is ours now because the people who we put there and who we've propagandized want it to be ours. There's obvious issues with that. A very good analogy here would be, let's imagine a scenario where, like, the South lost a civil war, and rather than surrendering, they up and left and, like, went and took over, like, Hawaii or something and installed, like, a competing US government with a claim to all of the USA in Hawaii. Do you think that Dylan Burns would be like, well, it's been 50 years now, so I guess it's theirs now, and, you know, they want independence, so that's it. They're independent, that's it. We gotta give it to him. No, he fucking wouldn't. The reason why Dylan Burns loves Taiwan so much is because it's an enemy of the enemy. Nothing more, nothing less. Like the moving of the Republic of China government to Taiwan was an inherently violent act. It was an invasion. They literally immediately massacred both indigenous peoples and non-indigenous people who had been living there for objecting to them taking it over. It was a violent invasion and a theft of territory. That's now, 60 years later, something that we apparently just have to accept, something that China apparently just has to accept. The point is that China's claims on Taiwan fit perfectly into established sort of international law. And by the way, it's illegal to implant populations in occupied territory, so there's some legal ambiguities there as well. These people just ignore their own purported ideals whenever it's convenient for them. Not to mention, obviously, that they're not talking about stuff like the US literally annexing Mexican territory. They're not talking about the status of Puerto Rico. Nothing like that. Only China, only the enemy. No, not talking about Gibraltar, only the enemy. It's incredibly transparent. Taiwan, regardless of what you think about Taiwan and self-determination, and by the way, self-determination of an implanted settler population is a very problematic notion by itself. But even ignoring that, regardless of what you think about that, China's claim on Taiwan is just as valid as any other territorial claim in the world today. So to act like China is being an incredible aggressor is just bullshit. It's like, if you want to talk about aggressor, let's talk about the country on the other side of the world building military bases around China. That's aggression. China, making empty threats about a territory that it claims in its backyard is not the same thing, for one. And for two, we're not just talking about any territory. We're not talking about China claiming, for example, a territory that's disputed with India. We're talking about China claiming a territory of a country that literally also claims China and claims to be the legitimate government of China legally in its constitution. This goes both ways. They ignore these things because they can't deal with them.